So the first activity we're going to look at is class activity 4J here on page 94 of your activity manual. So this first activity, right, this is a third grade activity. It says there are 6 goodie bags, right? So imagine you're at a party and get this little goodie bag. It has 3 eraser tops up there and then 4 stickers. And so it says, explain why each of the 2 expressions, 6 times 3 plus 6 times 4, and 6 times 3 plus 4, must describe the total number of items in the goodie bags. Right, so I'm going to stop at that first bit. So how do I view this as 6 times 3 plus 6 times 4? Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these goodie bags, right? So that's my grouping. So I know that I have 6 groups. And if I look at just the eraser tops in my goodie bags, I have 6 groups times 3 eraser tops. And then in addition to those eraser tops, though, I have 4 stickers in each bag. So I have 6 groups times the 4 stickers. And so if I want to ask the total number of items in the goodie bag, right, I'm going to add those 2 things together, 6 times 3 plus 6 times 4. But how do I think of this as not just 6 times 3 plus 6 times 4, let me get my numbers back on my groups, but as 6 times 3 plus 4. So if I still think about the goodie bags, I have 6 groups, right? But if I look at everything inside one of those goodie bags, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 goodies. But those 7 goodies really are just 3 erasers plus 4 stickers, right? And so that 6 times 7 is really 6 times 3 plus 4, and these 2 things must be equal, right? So it says, therefore, why these 2 things must be equal. Both are ways to count the total number of goodies in the 6 bags. So it says, so explain why the distributive property is true for all counting numbers. Well, nothing about this explanation. So nothing about this explanation relies on 6, 3, and 4, right? There's nothing special about those numbers in our explanation. So the same argument would work for all A, B, and C. So number 2 is going to start to push us towards our general explanation. It says, use the different shading shown in the rectangle and our definition of multiplication to explain why 3 times 2 plus 4 must equal 3 times 2 plus 3 times 4. So we know that the 3 must stand for our groupings, and the 2 plus 4 must be our units. So the first way we can see that, right, is if I look by row. I have 1, 2, 3 groups times 2 plus 4 units. Right, the 2 red and the 4 green squares in each row. And so that gives us our left-hand side up here in our equation. If I look at it another way, though, right, I can look at just the red squares. So I have 3 groups times the 2 red squares. And I can look at just my green squares. So I have 1, 2, 3 groups times 4 green squares. So now we have, right, to summarize this, by row, we have 3 times 2 plus 4, and by color, we have 3 times 2 plus 3 times 4, and it's again counting the same dots. So they are equal. And so number 3 here asks us to take a minute and try to make a rough drawing of an array and shade it to show 8 times 10 plus 5 equals 8 times 10 plus 8 times 5. So I'm going to encourage you to pause the video and try that out, and then we'll come back in just a second. So to show 8 times 10 plus 5, I'm going to draw a rectangle. And I'm going to go ahead and divide it here. So I know that I need to somehow incorporate 8 groups. So I'm going to divide this into 8 pieces horizontally. And then I somehow need to capture 10 plus 5. So let me go ahead and color this in a little bit. So I'm going to color this in yellow, and I'll color the right hand side in green, just so that we don't lose these once I add in my vertical lines. So this 10 on the left, so divide it in half, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 lines gives me 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 more lines. It gives me 10 on that side, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 gives me 15. All right, so there's my nice array. So it wants us to think about how this shows 8 times 10 plus 5. And so that's my by row. I have 8 groups times 10 plus 5 units. And then if I go by color, I'm going to get this right-hand side. I have 8 groups times 10 yellow squares plus 8 groups times 5 green squares. Right, if that's where I kind of do this bigger chunking of the yellow squares and the green squares. And again, we know since these are just 2 ways of counting the same thing, they must be equal.